Broadband is currently defined as 25 megabits per second of data coming down to your computer and 1 megabit of data going out of your computer back up. Well, all of this started, and I want to say it was our 2016 Community Strategic Plan to connect Roanoke County to the world. So the first piece of that was the creation of the Roanoke Valley Broadband Authority, which is partnered by several different municipalities here. But in Roanoke County is they laid 25 miles of open access fiber in the ground, primarily to encourage businesses to move to the county. So, and I think they've been very successful in their initial deployments with the people that are on using it, is they offer quite a bit of services now for business, and they're also to the point to where they're ready to offer open access fiber to anybody who would like to be a last mile provider and provide residential internet. A couple of things about Roanoke is it's absolutely beautiful. People want to live here. A lot of people live here for the beauty. And up until this pandemic, they were perfectly happy unplugging at work and going home and enjoying living out in the country. What problems does that bring is now I know I need internet, but I can't even get cell phone service where I live. So how on earth am I ever going to get internet? If you went on our GIS system and looked at a particular address, it might say they have 200 megabits of broadband from Cox Communication or from Comcast Communication. And we plugged that in from census data. And then we discovered, after we did this survey, well, why does it say this house has it and the resident says they don't have it? And then if you go to the provider that's advertised, no, they don't have service out there. Well, what the U.S. Census did in 2010, when they did the census, if it was available in any census block, part of any census block, they counted the whole block as availability. So it really gave us a false sense of who had high-speed internet and who didn't. So our struggle, as a local government, is trying to facilitate these installations. And we're kind of in an area we've never been in before, is we know there's an issue. It's a priority issue to our Board of Supervisors. So how can we do this? And a lot of this CARES Act money, and they sent money to the municipalities based on population. But we had some very short deadlines to work with. So we partnered with Cox Communications and B2X Communications to target some areas in the county that we knew didn't have service that they felt like they could accomplish within the timeline of the CARES Act to bring internet to county residents. But it gave us a chance to go into areas that we knew about as a result of our survey that we didn't cover in our VATI request to get some people some internet in the time of crisis to try and bring about it. Well, the Virginia Technology Initiative was designed by the state because the state even understood the importance of broadband to citizens' houses before the pandemic. And this is really what kind of got us started, is when I say we, the County of Roanoke, we were really unaware that we had as big an issue as we had. And as word started coming out that counties next to us were being awarded grant money for high-speed internet, our phones started ringing with citizens that want to know, what about us? Our fingers are crossed for the VATI grant announcement, but we're not going to stop. It's like I said, the internet availability, broadband availability is a top priority for our Board of Supervisors. And I don't think they will rest until everybody who wants internet or broadband has it at least available to them from one provider. I think contact your state representatives and make sure that there's plenty of money in these VATI grants and these type of opportunities so that the local municipalities can go forward with making these partnerships to get broadband in. I think that's probably the key thing. Locally, if you're wondering if you're in this CARES program or the VATI proposal, is citizens contact me directly, and I'm happy to hear from them. I'm at bhunter@roanokecountyva.gov is my email. I'm happy to hear from anybody. I have a whole group of folks that are on my mailing list right now that we're trying to keep in the loop as we go forward. And I'm happy to report I've been able to check a bunch of those folks off the list as success stories of people who didn't have anything that now have service available to them.
Hi, I'm Sean. I've been a foster parent for 8 months.
Hi, I'm Capen, and I've been fostering for about 10 months.
So the number one rule of fostering is there are no rules when it comes to fostering. One piece of advice I could give you is make sure you can find comedy in everything and make sure you can go with the flow.
You can't prepare for the unexpected, and it's always unexpected, but just be flexible. That's the most important thing I've learned.
The families that seem to deal with chaos and changes in schedule at the last minute, those are the families that seem to do better as foster parents, because we really do ask a lot of our foster parents, but we also believe that they get a lot back.
It has been the most fulfilling experience of my life. Just to have a kid in the home, the laughter, and to be able to give her a foundation to rely on regardless of what comes next has been just to give her that strength and make sure she's prepared for life.
When you get to that point of frustration where you're not happy about the way a situation is going or something that's happening, you always have to keep in mind that this kid didn't make these decisions to be in these positions, and they haven't been taught the right way to handle stuff. So you really always have to be looking at stuff from a coaching and mentoring type position standpoint, because you're kind of recreating this human and teaching them the right way to kind of handle situations.
They get to see the kids of our community heal, grow, learn to be safe, learn to feel safe, and then most of the time they get to go home to their families, and then they have 2 families instead of 1. If you guys have any questions, feel free to call me at 540-283-8844, or you can email me bsjones@roanokecountyva.gov. Thank you so much.
I drive because I love my children on the bus. I started off driving to be at home with my children on snow days and holidays. And in that 24-year time that I've been with the county, I have enjoyed every child on my bus and the families and the connections I've met.
I drive because of the students. It's those students that make my day.
I had a school bus driver that I admired, and I always watched her, and she was a great person, and that challenged me to be a good bus driver.
And I also like being a part of the community, and they trust me with their kids, and I enjoy being with my students.
The best part about driving the school bus
is the children that I pick up every day.
I retired from public service and I stayed at home and did all my honeydews and basically I get bored. And I wanted something to do. My wife was a teacher, so this allowed me to have money and time off during the summer.
I'm Sergeant Spencer Hoops with the Roanoke County Police Department. I'm Sergeant in our Traffic Enforcement Unit, and today we'll be discussing the new hands-free bill that will be going into effect January 1 of 2021. With the new bill that goes into effect January 1, it is a complete hands-free ban, for lack of a better word. That means we no longer, as law enforcement, have to be concerned with what you're doing on your phone. What you're doing on your phone will now be irrelevant. The fact that you are doing anything with that handheld device will now be against the law. Three really big distractions. We've got that manual distraction where we're physically pushing buttons on our phone. We're doing something with our hand. We have that visible distraction of looking at something, diverting our eyes from the roadway and what we're supposed to be paying attention to. And then that cognitive distraction of thinking about what we're trying to say, what we're trying to do on our device, what message we're trying to convey, what information we're trying to glean from our device. And any of those distractions are bad by themselves, but when you put those three together, it's a recipe for disaster. Let's not tempt ourselves while we're driving. Let's put our phone in another location that we can't even reach while we're driving. Maybe it's in a bag in the back seat, maybe it's the trunk, the glove box, one of those situations. Put our phone where we can't reach it, so even if it does make a noise, we're not tempted to reach for it and answer it. Many vehicles now are equipped with the Bluetooth feature or the hands-free feature in our vehicle. And many times all we have to do is talk to our car and ask it to dial the phone number we need to dial. Or they have the texting capability where the car or Siri will read what the message is to us. And we can simply talk back to our vehicle to respond to that. That alleviates the visual distraction, that alleviates the manual distraction, still feeding in some of that cognitive distraction. However, it's at least keeping our hands on the wheel and our eyes on the road. And that will greatly increase all of our safety on the roadway. Everyone knows the dangers of drunk driving. Everyone will tell you, yes, that's a horrible thing. Why would anybody do that? We know we don't do that. We've learned that growing up. We know what the consequences are. Those aren't consequences that I want to be a part of. We know the dangers of it. Yet the dangers of texting and driving or distracted driving are just the same, if not more serious, because there are more people distracted by their phones than there are drunk driving, drug driving. Let's make it simple for law enforcement. Let's make it simple for the public. You can't have your phone in your hand while you're driving. You shouldn't have it anyway, but now you as citizens don't have to decide, can I do this or can I not do this? Law enforcement doesn't have to decide, is this something you can do or is this not something you can do? And then determine, well, is what they're telling me, what they're doing on their phone, is that accurate or is it not accurate? Let's make this simple for everyone and say, don't use your phone while you're driving. It's more easily understandable for everyone involved and a very clear and concise message for everyone on the roadway that we all have a responsibility to act safely, to keep each other safe while we're out there. And this law kind of illustrates that issue and makes it clear for everyone, this is not something I need to be doing while I'm driving.
This is a family. We consider ourselves part of the transportation family. And once you become part of the family, you stay part of the family.
And he said, look, if you're going to work part-time, you might as well make as much money as you can. And for a part-time job, it pays pretty good for this area.
I drive the school bus because I wanted to have some adult interaction as a stay-at-home mom.
People tell me that, how can you drive kids? And I'm like, hey, that's the best part of the job.
I drive the school bus because I love it. It's an awesome job. I love going and picking up the students, watching them get on the bus, the little ones with the big smiles on their face, wondering, you know, all the excitement they're going to be doing while they're going to school, middle, high school. I drive all ages. It's just a wonderful job.
I drive because I'm retired Navy, and it's great, you know, after serving my country to give back to my community. You know, our kids are the future of America, and it's great to have a part to where I'm contributing to them and to make sure that they get what they need.
We all share a role in protecting our children and communities. That's why we're asking people to practice safe firearm storage. Just as we tell people to lock their cars, we want owners to lock up their firearms when not in use. Some simple steps are to always clear your firearms before storing them, use firearm safety devices such as trigger and cable locks, and to store ammunition separately in a locked container. Make safety a priority and secure your firearms today.
My name is Ben Jones. I'm a supervisor with Roanoke County DSS, and I get to work with my favorite people on the planet, the resource foster parents. One of my favorite things to talk about is how important foster parents are to the community. Foster parents help heal families, they help change the cycles of abuse, they help mentor families that really haven't had a good role model, and they also help heal children who've been through trauma, grief, and loss, and who knows what else.
You do not have to be the perfect parent to be the perfect foster parent. There are tons of kids out there that just want love, so if you have love to give and if you have room in your home and you're stable, then you'd be a perfect foster parent.
You have to have a heart to bring these children into your home and treat them like you would treat your own children.
It only takes a little effort to make a big difference, that there are many needs out there much greater than myself.
I think we have a really great program, and I'm really proud of all of them. I believe we trained about 24 foster families last year. We like to train at least 24 this year.
The examples and the information shared during the trainings was very helpful, and without that, I don't feel that I would have been able to take care of my child as well as I did.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to call me at 540-283-8844, or you can email me bsjones@roanokecountyva.gov. Thank you so much.
I'm here today visiting with Roanoke County Fire and Rescue Chief Steve Simon. Thank you for talking with me today.
My pleasure.
This is a very special day to talk with you because we're going to talk about your retirement.
Yes, something I probably don't like talking about.
Yeah. Well, we don't either. But you've been with Roanoke County Fire and Rescue for 26 years now and set to retire. How do you feel about that?
I feel good now. I think the department's in a good place. I felt very apprehensive when I started thinking about this. I always knew I would be retiring around this time. This is my 35th year in public safety. Roanoke County was my third home, and it was my final home. I knew that was going to be that. So it's time. It's good for change, and I think the organization is strong, and they'll do great things after I'm gone.
So what inspired you to go into a career in public safety?
You know, when I was younger, I grew up, my parents worked shift work, and I was the youngest, and I had a lot of opportunities to be by myself, and my parents we had a fire station close by. My parents would always say, if there was ever a problem, go up to the fire station. And I can remember actually going up there when I was younger, my bike might break, and the firemen used to help me put the chain back on it or get the tires pumped up mainly, things like that. So it was always a safe place for me. And then when I was in high school, went to high school in the Northern Virginia area. The Fairfax County firefighters would come up and run on the track, and I might be daydreaming in class, and I'd look out and I'd say, wow, that's a pretty cool job. They get to work out while they're going on calls and stuff like that. So that really piqued my interest into it, and I started got my paramedic certification and started going that route. So that sort of put me on my pathway to where I'm at now.
Okay, it's interesting. Good stories. Yeah. Now talk a little bit about the department. How has it evolved over the last 26 years that you've been here?
You know, it's changed greatly. I was with Roanoke City prior coming to Roanoke County, and I knew Roanoke County was more of a rural area. I started out in the Prince William County, which was very similar to Roanoke County, a little bit more populated. With Roanoke County, at the time, there was only about 55 employees in the fire rescue department. It was predominantly covered by the volunteers and a volunteer-based system, which worked. It worked very effectively. But over time, those available times for volunteers was limited. People had to go, 2 household incomes started, the economy impacted, and fewer people wanted to volunteer, which I do think is a tragedy in our community, because so many nonprofits rely on volunteers, from recreation clubs to churches to the schools and then to the volunteer fire rescue organizations, and less people started volunteering. So when I started, I was about the 55th employee, and now we're approved for 203 employees, and with our part-time staff, we're upwards of almost 250 employees. So we've had to take on, when I say we, the county has had to take on, because we have to provide the services, so they've had to hire more what we call paid full-time staff. We call them career staff, had to hire more career staff. And I just worked through the system up through the ranks during that time.
You've really been instrumental over the last year in leading the county's effort, and how our organization as Roanoke County responds, how we take care of our employees, and what's that been like? Maybe a most memorable moment throughout this past year?
I look at the COVID experience as a large emergency incident. And this is the longest one that I've ever been involved with most people in our nation. I don't think we can look at our COVID pandemic until we look back at World War II, where the whole nation was ramped up in the defense. A different virus, a different enemy, but we've had to mobilize so much. The thing that we've done so effectively in Roanoke County, we've had a long history of emergency management. And when I became chief, I went ahead and reinstituted that emphasis that we actually put more people in the emergency management role. So when this happened, pandemic came, in late February, we started from Fire Rescue advocating that this is going to be bad and we need to start preparing, and our county administrator and the board allowed us from Fire Rescue to implement the incident management system. And that put all of us in an emergency response mode to make sure we could provide services to our citizens and keep government running, continuity of services. And I think that's where I'm one of the most proudest things, because not from me, not from our department, from all the other departments. And right now we're working with the health department advocating how we go ahead and get the vaccinations rolled out. We're setting up a regional partnership amongst the regional fire chiefs. We've done just leaps and bounds, and when you look at other parts of the country and other parts of the state, I'm very proud to say that we're ahead of all of that. But we thought something like this could happen, and we prepared for it, but we prepare for emergencies, and we always were ready. And that's where I'm somewhat most proud of the department and of the staff and of the employees of the county.
Sure. It's been a very memorable time.
Yes. Now,
just thinking about your career in general, what do you think has been your greatest accomplishment?
That's so many of the things that I've been able to do has been helpful from other people, the support of other people, and that's just a nurturing environment. I've been very fortunate. When I thought about that question, when you asked me about it last week, and I've really had to delve into it, and I guess I'm most proud of my ability I've been able to help people. From as a paramedic firefighter, where I've had a cardiac save, where that person came back down to the fire station to thank me and had a productive life, many years, the training that I was able to have, the tools that I was able to have to save that person's life. That's one memorable moment. But all the other areas of helping people and watching our fire rescue employees and volunteers change people's lives for the better. that's a good feeling. And that's one of those things that I can look back and say, yeah, was my career worthwhile? And I'd like to say, yeah, we were able to help people.
That's great. Now, talk about your future plans.
You know, the fire service, like I said, 26, little almost going on 27 years in the county, 35 overall. I've had an opportunity to do a lot of different things. One of the things that I'm going to be doing, I have a week off between careers or professions. I'll be starting as the Executive Director of Western Virginia EMS Council, and that EMS Council supports emergency medical services and fire rescue departments that provide EMS and local governments in a very wide region in Southwest Virginia in planning and training and helping them mitigate some of the challenges that they face, helping local government. So that's something that I'll still be involved in, emergency medical services, from a training, from a strategic planning stand, from helping providers provide services to the public. And so I still will be involved. My phone just won't go off at 2 in the morning. I won't be getting called in hopefully on a Saturday or Sunday, because I'll be more in the background helping those first responders provide those services. So I feel good about that, and it's something that I can still contribute to, and I'm looking forward to that.
And let me ask too, you have a lot of community involvement, not just working with the county, but outside. I know you're big into soccer. Talk a little bit about your community involvement too.
I got involved as volunteering. It was just ingrained in me as a young person from my parents. I can remember I had 2 older brothers, so when there ever was a baseball or football or band, I got dragged along to help do whatever needed to be done as my father and mother volunteered. If that was cutting the grass at the church, to doing fundraisers, paper drives. So it was instilled in me at a young age. I carried that on as my adult. I'm very active in the community. Mostly now still involved with Valley AFC Soccer. We're the largest soccer club in Southwest Virginia. So I think it's important to be providing service within where you can. And I've always had that, and I hope my legacy is that my children will do the same thing, because the schools need those volunteers. The recreation programs need those volunteer coaches. And I'd like to think that that's something that I've given back to the community, because the community has been giving back to me.
Giving back service is just something that's been ingrained in you.
Yes.
Essentially. That's great. I know the community really appreciates all your volunteer work as well. So again, going back to your career, what do you think you'll miss the most?
Easily, interaction with the people. I love interacting with the public. Even during COVID, I've still been going out and meeting. I've had breakfast meetings. I've had, physically distancing. We have Zoom meetings with all the different organizations, the Kiwanis, the Lions, the neighborhood groups, all of that. I enjoy representing the county. I enjoy representing the fire rescue, men and women of the fire rescue department who do a wonderful job. I'll miss interacting with the other departments, the other counties, but mostly I'll miss hearing from all of the citizens that write me letters, send me emails, pick up the phone and call me and say, I just want to let you know how good your folks treated me today. And having the ability to see there is a problem, and that's one reason why I took the chance to get promoted and work my way up through the organization, because at some level you can't fix a problem, but you continue working at it and you have the ability to fix that problem. And that's where I'm very proud of. And I'll miss.
I'm sure. Well, I can tell you, I've worked with you for a number of years, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I know everyone in Roanoke County will certainly miss you, and I'm sure everyone in the department is very appreciative of the leadership you've given over the years. So we certainly wish you the very best and hope that we still have these encounters with you when you're in your future job or out in the community.
I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sure.